Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rise of Justice Movement, the podcast. My name is Zachary Mallory, and I am the host and the founder of the Rise of Justice Movement and the Rise of Justice Movement, the podcast. All right, so I am back with another candidate that is bringing a lot of energy. And, without further ado, Erin Block, welcome to the podcast. It's so exciting to sit down and talk with you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you. I think it's going to be a good conversation for the next, well, hour. So let's dive right into it. So
Absolutely.
walk us through, who you are, what your background is, and why you're running for Williamson County Clerk.
Sure. I grew up on a farm in southern Mississippi where my family grew blueberries, blackberries, Alicia Bermuda hay. I was highly allergic to hay, so I got out of ever having to bale hay. But I am not allergic to blueberries or blackberries. And so I did my time picking those berries, and it was not as fun as you would think. Um, but I feel that working on that farm really gave me a really good, strong work ethic, and also gave me a strong appreciation for air conditioning. And as soon as I was old enough to work off of the farm, I did so, but do value that experience of working on the farm. And my family still runs that same farm today. No more hay. It's full of lots of different fruits and wildflowers. Actually, had their first harvest of strawberries this spring. So was really excited to see all of that happening. But I moved to Texas in the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, in search of a better career. Hurricane Katrina came through southern Mississippi, and it was pretty devastating in 2005. And it was just really hard to find a job. And I had some friends that lived in Texas and said, "Hey, Austin is this really awesome area. I think that you would really like it." So I moved here sight unseen. And I've been here ever since. I do have my degree in accounting. And if you haven't been able to tell by now, I am a people person. I really like talking to people about anything and everything. And so, my junior year of college, I had a professor pull me aside and wanted to have a really serious conversation about, are you sure that accounting is what you really want to do? Because we know you and we are kind of afraid that you are not going to love your career path. And I said, "No, I love numbers. I love that one plus one always equals two. And I love that I'm a people person. I believe that I can really bring a lot to the industry with my unique skill set." And I have worked in many different areas and facets of the accounting industry, from working for a general contractor to working in an automotive repair shop to a nonprofit who really focused on helping uh, provide legal services to individuals who were living sometimes 125 to 150% below the poverty level. And then most recently in the government accounting sector, working with disaster relief funds. Um, and I believe that those experiences and my passion for people is what is going to make me a really awesome county clerk. And I bet you've never heard that phrase come out of anybody's mouth. Because when thinking about the county clerk's office, it's not really something that a lot of people ever think about or even know is an elected position. But it is. And I am excited to take my passion for helping people, and making sure that people are treated fairly and equitably. into county government and make that county government work for every single person, regardless of the color of their skin or their gender identity or what political party that they're affiliated with. It shouldn't matter. County government should work for every single person, no matter what.
Which is why it's important to recognize that no matter how big or how small an election is, every single one of them matters. So,
Oh, absolutely. I tell people that tell me that, oh, I only vote in presidential elections. I, one, give them kudos. Thank you for voting in presidential elections, but you're really missing out on midterm elections. You're missing out on municipal elections because those elections, especially your municipal and your county level elections, those are the ones that are going to dictate and affect your everyday life. And so you really do need to be plugged into those races, those campaigns, even more so, in my opinion, than a political campaign.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning about that because it goes into, like I said, thinking about every single election and how it matters. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is. Those county elections, which is where a lot of change can happen, like we're seeing a lot of counties rising up against AI data centers, right? We're
Oh,
seeing a
yes.
lot of this, like the local cities also, overturning the bonds that they already passed. So it kind of brings into like the next aspect that I want to talk to, and you talk about it on the platform, but it's transparency. What
Yes.
is currently working, what is not working, and what are some of those steps you would take to increase transparency in Williamson County?
So, first of all, if you ask anybody, like, hey, what does the county clerk's office do? They have no idea. So before we even talk about transparency, the campaign is also rooted in just informing the residents of the county about what the clerk's office does, and telling them, hey, like, if you need to be able to get copies of a death certificate so that you can fill out paperwork, do you know where to go? Do you know what documentation that you need? Do you know how long it's going to take to get that request completed? And the answer is a resounding no. And that's a problem, because the residents' tax dollars are what funds the work in the county clerk's office. And so it is the responsibility of the county clerk themselves and their staff in order to be able to provide that information. And so the very first thing that I would want to do is to come in and modernize the website. Because what is the first thing that we do when we don't know something? We pick up our smartphones and we're automatically Googling something, okay? And so we go to the website, and if there's not any information or if it's not laid out in a very workable, easily digestible manner, then it defeats the purpose. It doesn't work for the county. Having that transparency where we have how long is it going to take a request to get completed, put it on the website. Not only does that give information to the residents, but it also is holding the clerk's office accountable. And if that uh, response time to be able to get something completed is extremely long, uh, you bet it, I'm going to put it on there. And then I'm going to work with the team to be able to reduce that time frame down. It's not transparency only if it works for the clerk's office. It is transparency so that the residents know what is happening, what is going on. As it stands right now, there is none of that. If you go in and look on the website, you are fumbling through tabs and trying to find what you need, and it's not helpful. That to me is almost hiding something. Instead of being transparent, being open, and making sure that residents can see what is actually happening and going on within the clerk's office.
I'm also thinking about the aging population and the ease of accessibility whenever it comes to looking at websites, because, I'll be thirty years old this year. I know I'm not in my 70s or 80s looking at websites, but even like the older websites are hard for me to even click through. I'm thinking about what it would be like for my grandfather if he was still alive, looking at some of these websites, right, and trying to figure out how to do it. My grandfather used to own a flower shop from like 2005 to 2010. Okay. And
Okay.
whenever he was in the Air Force, using those computers like back then was different than like 2005. So trying to show him how to use a website was, well, it was not easy, like to say the least. But
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking about that ease of accessibility, on these websites. It's not very disability friendly. There's also, people that have like low vision or they have blurry vision or so just I like the fact that you bring transparency into this and talk about that because it goes into multi different facets, right? And there's a lot that can go into that. So obviously transparency is an absolute must. Now, on your website, you also talk about prioritizing service. It
Yes.
kind of goes into that transparency part, and you would think it would be common sense, right, Erin?
You would think so, right? But
But it's
you know, I my mom always told me, you do two things when you assume, and
Mhm.
so the whole customer service aspect of that was actually born out of an experience that I had last fall when I decided to run for office. And for anybody who's ever run for office, you've got to set up your DBA. And in Williamson County, where do you go to do that? You go to the county clerk's office. And so I gathered everything that I needed and went in, and that was not a really pleasant and exciting experience for me. And it really made me stop and think about, okay, well, I've already made up my mind. I know that I want to run for office. Um, I know that I want to give back to my community in a meaningful way. But if somebody was on the fence or was already a little nervous about if they really wanted to step into the public eye and step into the political arena, it's my belief and opinion that that experience probably would have stopped them and may have prevented someone who had amazing ideas to move the county forward and stop it in their tracks. And that is a form of suppression. And I am wanting to make sure, and I said it earlier, making sure that county government works for every single person, regardless of what that person looks like, regardless of who they are, making sure that people are treated fairly and equitably, because those are two very different things. And it almost spurred me on even more and put jet fuel into my tank to say, okay, here we go. We're going to go for this. And so, what does customer service look like? Well, it looks like um, saying, okay, maybe if you're thinking that, maybe we don't say it if it's not something that you would want said to you. Let's take a moment and think about um, for instance, I have a 4-year old who is absolutely obsessed with chicken nuggets. Okay. Poor thing is going to turn into a chicken nugget. And when we go and get chicken nuggets from a restaurant who I shall not name, when we leave and I say, thank you so much, they always say, my pleasure. Um, to me, that is so nice to hear somebody say, it's my pleasure to take care of you. It's my pleasure to serve you. And as an elected official, you are a public servant. You are there to serve your constituents, your community, the residents of your district or your county or your state. And at the end of the day, you should be saying, it is my pleasure to be able to help you with whatever it is that you need. Even if it's not something that I specifically can assist you with in my office, it is my job to help get you in contact with whoever it is that can complete that for you. It is all about being service driven. And I kind of feel like politicians have gotten away from that. Um, and forgotten that they don't serve themselves or their special interests. They should be serving their constituents, regardless of whether that's going to add money to their pocket or to their fundraising bank account. Again, every single person being treated fairly and equitably.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And what I've seen far too many times is somebody can run, at all, like I said, every election matters, but they can run on like a really good platform. And it's like once they become elected, they lose that, like where they came from, right?
Right.
And a lot of that, kind of goes into like money in politics, which is a whole like,
Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms.
because believe it or not, it does trickle down to elections like yours.
Oh, yes.
And there's a lot of influence even locally that I don't think people recognize. So thinking about that, what would the modernization, okay, that was a struggle.
Oh,
What
yeah.
would modernizing the clerk's office look like?
Hey, don't worry. There's not enough caffeine in the world that kind of helps
Oh,
that sentence flow.
for real.
um, it really goes back to starting out with the website. So I will be 45 this summer. So when I was a senior in high school, the internet was just getting really good and started. And what was the big thing? Everybody had AOL. And I kind of feel like the website right now, it feels like I had just logged in and booted up my AOL account using the CD-ROM. It's very Y2K esque, so to speak. So again, making it just easier, bringing it in and making it easier for those older people, making it easier for even young people, because unfortunately, there are young people that are going to need to be able to access death certificates. They're also going to be wanting to request marriage license, and all of that information should be easily accessible from that website. Um, because one, nobody ever enjoys going to any form of government office, no matter what it is. I mean, it's not like I say, I am so excited to take 4 hours of PTO from work so that I can go visit my county government office so that I can apply for my marriage license or go get a copy of a birth certificate. Like, if I heard somebody say that, I would want to know, one, what county do you live in? Because I want to find out, like, what kind of happy drink do you guys have? First and foremost. So I know that it is you taking time out of your day to have to come into the clerk's office. And as much as I would love to see people over and over again in the clerk's office, I know you don't want to come in over and over. So modernizing the website in a way that outlines these are all of the things that the clerk's office handles. And hey, do you need a copy of a birth certificate? Let's click on that. This is all the documentation that you need to bring in. Or can you fill out an application online and print it and then bring it in with you so that you're only coming in that one time? Because my gosh, I spent $4.40 a gallon to fill up my car yesterday. I do not want somebody from the far western part of Williamson County to have to drive into Georgetown, which is the county seat, more than once when I know that budgets are tight, expenses are high, and income is not rising at a fair rate. So, really, just the main focus is looking at that website, but also taking in that first 90 days that I would be in office and asking the questions of why and how, and asking the current employees, why do you do it this way? Talk me through it, explain it to me, because I'm a newbie in this position. You've been working here, and take my experience from doing process improvements and implementations and see, is what is happening now working efficiently and effectively, not only from a procedural standpoint, but also from a people standpoint. If you don't enjoy doing a job, you're not going to excel at it. You're not going to have that smile on your face when you are completing those tasks. If there's another area in the clerk's office that excites you, then let's look at that and let's move you to that area. Um, Happy staff makes a happy workplace. And I feel like that ties right into the customer service and the transparency. All three of those things are so intertwined and connected that you really cannot talk about one without talking about all of them.
Absolutely. It's all connected, right? And again, we would think that this would be common sense, but I think common sense is not in the room in a lot of
No,
different spaces.
no,
Um,
no.
Thinking about the 2020 census, the estimated population of Williamson County is 609,000. And then, the estimate for 2024, specifically for Williamson County, is 727,480. That's a lot of people, first of all.
That's a lot of people.
And
And
there's a lot of cities that are around there too, right?
there are. So Williamson County, for a lot of your listeners who may not be familiar with Williamson County, it is the county that is just north of Travis County, which is home to the Texas capital, Austin.
Got it.
And so a lot of people are moving out of Travis County in the metropolitan area and are moving more into the suburbs, into Williamson County. And it used to be that it was a lot of farmland, and now you've got a lot more cities. So, for instance, I live in a small city called Leander. And when we first bought our house there, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, we are so far out here. There's like no restaurants. I just felt like I was so far removed, but so excited too. And then move forward 10 years. And I mean, there is a restaurant, just multiple restaurants just outside of our neighborhood. It's grown up and expanded so much. They opened up the largest Home Depot in Texas, just down the road from us. Um, and all of that is happening because so many people are moving into Williamson County. And when that happens, the immediate thought goes to, okay, well, infrastructure, we've got to have the roads and the power and the water to be able to take care of all of the increase of people that are coming in. But that also means that county government has to keep up as well. And I just do not believe that county government has kept up, as particularly with the clerk's office, has not kept up with the rapid increase in population. And let's be honest, it's just going to keep going up as more and more people, one, move to Texas, and then move out of more city life and want more rural life where it runs a little bit slower, and they have the acre 2 acre lots versus living in a skyrise apartment building. And I can say that I feel that the county clerk's office has not kept up because the current sitting county clerk has been in office since 1998. So I went and had the opportunity and the honor to be able to speak in front of some college Democrats and just ask them, hey, how many of y'all were born after the year 2000? And of course it was 99% of them. And I said, all right, well, the Williamson County Clerk has been sitting and holding this office for longer than you've been alive. That's a really long time. And it's really easy to get stuck in your ways and miss out on growth opportunities that are out there. And so I am very adamant about I'm not going to be here for 28 years. I do not want to be the Williamson County Clerk for that long because I know that I have really awesome ideas that I want to bring forward and I want to do in the clerk's office. But in 8, 12 years, however long, there's going to be the next generation behind me who has even better ideas. And it's my responsibility to step down and let that next generation come in.
Absolutely. Fresh ideas, fresh minds, there's a need for change. And
Absolutely.
like I said, I'll be 30 years old. You said the current has been in since 1988.
Yes.
Good God, I was two. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's
like
like,
it's wild. It is wild.
so as far as, if you're out talking to voters, because I'm sure you've been canvassing, right?
Oh, yes.
So think about some of those conversations that you've been having. What are some of the concerns that you are hearing from, constituents in this area, in this county? What are you hearing as far as some of those top concerns about the clerk's office? And I'm sure there's a ton of them, because like you said, been in there since 1998. That's an issue. It's 2026, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, they're like, "Oh, you mean she's finally retiring?" Yes, yes, she is finally retiring, and I will send her off into retirement with a smile on my face. Go and enjoy, sitting on your porch with that cup of coffee and relax. I would say probably the number one thing I hear is that, and it comes from some of the people who actually work in the office or who previously worked in the office, where it is not a culture of acceptance. And you can kind of feel that when you go in. The judging eyes and the judging glances. You also have to remember that it's not just people coming in to get copies of documentation. The county clerk's office also takes in the payments for any court fees or judgments that have come down from county judges. And so if you go in and you go before a county judge and you've got, a misdemeanor marijuana possession charge and you've got to pay a fee, you're coming in to the clerk's office to pay that fee. You should not be getting judgmental looks or glances from people in the office when they read why you are coming in. There should not be comments being made under their breath about why you are coming in. That's none of your business as the county employee. You are there to complete a job and provide a service to that resident who is coming in. And let's be honest, we all did stupid stuff when we were kids and when we were younger. And it was hard enough to be met with those consequences, let alone have to go in and then face the scrutiny after you've been before a judge, to have to go in and then get it all over again from other people within the county government. But it also comes from right now. Here's an example. I had someone reach out to me and say, I don't know if you know this or not, but the current clerk does not allow you to speak Spanish in the clerk's office. And I almost passed out when I read that because we live in Texas. Spanish is pretty close to being like the language spoken in Texas. So to hear that there is a government official who is not allowing a native tongue to be spoken within her office was highly concerning to me. Um, it all really stems back to kindness and just treating each other with empathy and compassion. Uh, like I said, I grew up on a farm, and if your tractor was in the ditch, your neighbor just came and helped you. That's just what happened. It's what you did. You didn't expect anything back. You just did it. And that's one, I don't think how society is anymore. And it's definitely not that way in county government. And I would love to bring that back. Like, let's just take care of each other. And that is probably the overarching sentiment that I'm getting from everybody that I speak to. That they say, I don't care what political party you're from, like you need to be treated kindly. And they're frustrated that that's not happening in today's society across the board.
I took a second to come off or to kind of say something else because it's like if I say what I'm actually thinking, whenever you mentioned about not being able to speak Spanish, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I
So let me ask you this.
absolutely.
Let me ask you this. Have they kicked people out of this office? Like legitimate question. Like if you're in line and you're speaking Spanish, have they been known to like just say we
not
can't serve you today?
not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
That doesn't mean it
But
hasn't
it
happened, right?
that is correct. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but I do not know that for sure. So
Wow,
it
that's
it
insane.
raises concerns to me. I'm a Christian, but I know that there are others that aren't and who have other different um, religious beliefs, or who may not be religious at all. But currently, if you receive an email from the current county clerk, you're going to have one or more Bible verses that are in the email signature.
Oof.
And while there are some people who appreciate that, I do not appreciate that coming from county government. I don't appreciate that coming from any form of government because I am a strong supporter of the separation of church and state.
Mhm.
We've seen in a very dark history how the combination of church and state was incredibly detrimental, and so I will not have Bible verses in my email signature if I am elected as county clerk.
Well,
Like,
thank you for that.
sorry.
Thank you for that. I consider myself to be a progressive Christian myself, but I honestly don't think I would ever add Bible verses into my signature.
I
That
don't think I've
is,
ever had that thought has never crossed my
uh,
mind, even in my work, my day-to-day
mhm.
work now. I'm like, that just never. I may put like a happy quote or something, but I'm never in my wildest dreams have I ever thought I'm going to add a Bible verse or two to my email signature because I think that that is what the world needs.
And kind of pivoting, let's talk about something more exciting, okay?
Yes,
So you got some really good endorsements.
I
And
do.
some of the endorsements, which I'll let you kind of like list them off and like what each one of them means to you. But endorsements are, it means that people are putting their trust towards what you're saying. They're putting their trust towards like, yeah, you're going to be able to do the right job. So these endorsements that you have that are currently listed on your website, what has these endorsements meant to you? Because you're getting out, you're talking to people, and you're going and talking to groups. Obviously, they're seeing something in you. So whenever somebody endorses you, what has that reaction been for you? Because that's the most exciting part
Uh,
of any campaign is
oh,
the
absolutely,
endorsements.
absolutely. So, I've never run for office before. This is the very first time stepping into the political arena as a candidate. I have volunteered on municipal races, state house races, and have supported monetarily, candidates that I feel passionately about across the United States. Which unfortunately means I get like 65 text messages a day now. Um, but I'm still excited to get those. But I think probably the biggest emotion that I feel is just gratitude. Because I know what it means when, for existence, State Rep John Busey says, I trust that Erin has the best interest of county residents in heart and mind, and I am fully endorsing her. Um, there's literally, it's just so much gratitude to have city council members, to have the county party come out and endorse me, to have uh, you know progressives and young Democrats, college Democrats come out and say, we love what you're saying and we are excited to get behind you. And I've had the opportunity to go and speak in front of several other organizations who are just starting their endorsement process, and be able to say, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. But also, like, what can I do for you? Talk to me about what do you want to see out of your county government? Because I know what I want to see out of my county government, but you may be living in a different time of your lifespan. And so my priorities may be different than yours. And so talk to me about that. Talk to me about, for instance, I went and spoke in front of the Austin Central Labor Council, and they had valid questions like, hey, what can you do to help us? And my response is, for that particular question that you're asking, the county clerk's office doesn't really have the ability to make any changes in that. But what I can do is facilitate conversations between you and the people who do make those decisions. It is me going in and stepping in and advocating for you in those situations. It's also humbling because they are putting their trust in me. And to sit back and think, like, people are talking about me. They're saying my name. In fact, this morning I just had somebody say, I've seen your name somewhere. And I said, well, yeah, I had some big road signs up before the primary. And, I try to go to all the little festivals. I want to get out and talk to people. And they're like, I really like you. You've got good energy. I like the way that you are talking to me and getting your point across. And I'm just really excited to be able to vote for you in November. And just to have somebody say, I trust you to vote for you in 6 months, and you've just met me. It's almost a surreal and crazy feeling, to hear people say, oh yeah, we've been talking about you and we're really excited about you. It blows my mind. And I'm sure that other candidates probably who have run multiple times don't have that same feeling now as they did during those first round of endorsements that they got. I hope I never lose that feeling, because it just makes me warm and fuzzy inside.
Which is a good feeling, especially in the current like climate of like everything, right? So it's good to hear some positive, right? And I feel like we need that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel people have a distrust, and rightfully so, whenever it comes to elected officials, even on the local level. Because
Oh, absolutely.
I grew up in Kansas City, or like right outside of Kansas City on the Missouri side, because there's Kansas City,
Hmm.
Kansas, and there's Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
People don't recognize that. If you're not from here, it is very confusing because you can literally walk across the bridge, and one side of it you're on the Missouri side, the other side you're on the Kansas side, and it's wild. And there's also a point in this is just like a side note. I'll actually get to what I was talking about, but uh, I tend to do this. I tend to ramble sometimes.
Me too.
Um, oh, we're gonna be good friends, but um, one side of the road that you're standing on, and that's State Line Road that goes right through the heart of like downtown. And you're standing on one side of the street. You're in like an area called Prairie Village, Kansas. The other side of the street, you're in Kansas City, Missouri, and you can literally like toss a rock across the way, and you're in different states. It's insane.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's absolutely nuts.
but just thinking about what you want people to know about you and your candidacy. What are some of those things that you want people to know? And you kind of briefly touched on this at the beginning, but we're going to kind of like expand on that. So, what are some of those things that you want people to know about you, your background, and your candidacy? Because obviously, you separate from the current,
Yes.
the current person that's in this position. But what are some of those like qualifying things that, and some of the what would it look like to have you in that spot? Like you touched on this, but we'll kind of round out with this. What do
Yeah,
you want people to know about you?
absolutely. One, what you see is what you get. Candidate Erin is the same Erin as hanging out with you, Erin. There's no difference. So I am very transparent. I'll be very honest. And have been working as that accountant. And in my most recent role, have the project that I've been on with this current role has been going on for um, almost 4 years. The whole reason why we were brought in was to look at their current processes because they knew it wasn't working, but they didn't know how to fix it, or what specific areas needed to be fixed. And so being able to come in, you can't just come in and just start making insane changes, because you have to go in and actually know and understand fully and completely how are you completing tasks currently, and sitting down and forming those relationships with the people that work in that office and get to know them, get to know how they're doing their job, asking them, does this work for you? And asking for very open and honest feedback, and taking that open and honest feedback and saying, okay, this is where I am hearing frustration. This is where I can see as a resident where this would not work, but it's also not working for the staff in the office who are completing it. Let's take a look and see what we can do differently to make this work for everybody. It is listening to understand. It's listening to actually hear those concerns from residents and those who work in the clerk's office, and not just listening to respond. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people just listen to respond, and we're missing out on an incredible opportunity to be able to hear directly from residents who are being affected by the I wouldn't even the issues that are happening in the clerk's office, and the lack of productivity, and just not being able to have a streamlined process. um, I would also say that I am a people person, and so I want to make sure that when you come into the clerk's office that you see me. The residents of the county, hopefully in November, are going to cast their votes for me and I will be elected. And so I have a duty and an obligation as an elected official to be visible and to be seen. That's not currently what is happening. Um, the current clerk's office is way up on the third floor of the courthouse, and you're not going to see her in those day-to-day dealings in within the in the clerk's office, and I want that to change. Um, because again, your tax dollars are paying for the clerk's office. You should be able to see the person that you voted for. It's a novel concept. Um, but again, I am an accountant. And with that comes a lot of OCD, more or less, to keep things in line in order to keep it streamlined. And at the end of the day, the clerk's office and the duties and roles and responsibilities of the clerk's office are purely administrative. And so I want voters, residents to be able to sit back and think, okay, who do I want serving as my county clerk? Do I want someone who was the former GOP chair of the county for 20 years? Or do I want a proven accountant, a proven professional who has experience with process improvements and implementations and leading large teams? And I have a very sincere and genuine hope and belief that the voters of Williamson County are going to choose the latter, and that is going to be me.
I think so too. And I think anybody would be lucky to have you as their county clerk because, again, everything that you're saying comes down to this should have already been implemented, y'all. This should have already
Absolutely.
been done.
It's
And
not rocket science, you
what,
know.
and I think it's also one of those things like, I'm trying to think of, so back in the 90s does not work the same way as it does in 2026.
No.
It's very outdated. It's very like, yeah, that's how you know people get too comfortable in their roles. And then whenever there's like a serious challenge, and they're like, oh, yeah, maybe we should like, update this and update that and update this and update that. You should have already done that.
Oh,
That should have already
absolutely.
been done years ago.
Yes. Yes. You know, and that's I will and I said it before and I'll say it again. My goal is not to be the longest sitting county clerk in Williamson County. That's not my goal. My goal is to be able to serve the residents of Williamson County um if for, you know, a short amount of time, that short being maybe multiple terms, maybe 2 terms, maybe 3, and then step aside and let the next generation come in because we've seen what it looks like when good people stay in positions for too long. And then we've also seen what happens when terrible people stay in positions for a long time. It doesn't matter whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, whether you're a good person or a bad person. When you stay somewhere for too long, you become complacent. You forget the why and the whole reason why you ran for office. And I am a huge fan of term limits. Um, Bring those in, let the next generation bring in that new crop of fantastic ideas and innovative ideas and implement them because they are the generation that are out there experiencing it and looking at it through a different lens than how I am. I have a daughter who is 24 and she views the world totally differently than I view the world. And it is a lot of fun to have a political conversation with her because she has made me see things like, oh, I didn't look at it from that lens. Well, that makes total sense. That's also what we need to be doing within county government as well.
Absolutely. And I think that comes down to the human approach to it. The human approach, because far too often people forget, again, where they come from. And I see it
Mm-hmm.
far too many times. And I see it far too often about they just forget where they come from. And you got to remember where you began. And I think we just need to bring integrity to politics. And I feel
Oh,
like
a 100%.
it's
Absolutely.
again just like common sense. It's not in the room in a lot of spaces, and it's very apparent whenever you have an elected official that has been longer or has been in their position longer than you've been alive. That is pure insanity. Um,
Absolutely it is. And I don't know. I don't want to be at any job for
mhm,
28 years.
mhm.
Absolutely not.
I'm too curious. Like
Absolutely.
it's like okay, whenever you start getting bored in a position, it's time to go,
A
to
hundred
something else.
percent. Or you just get so comfortable,
Hmm.
that you feel I can do whatever. That it's time to move on. I am always wanting to learn um, and read. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of audiobooks to try to push my thought process and expand my knowledge. Um, if you don't do that, you become incredibly complacent and comfortable, and you end up missing out on really wonderful and awesome things.
Speaking of awesome things, I know we're coming up on time here very shortly. What are some ways that people can contribute to your campaign and then also follow and uplift the work that you are doing?
Absolutely. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for uh, help on the campaign. So, if people want to learn more about me, they can go visit erinforwilco.com. That's erinforwilco.com. I'm also on Facebook, Erin Block for Williamson County Clerk. I'm on Instagram and TikTok as Erin for Wilco. Um, on that website, there you can click to be able to go to my Act Blue to be able to make a donation, or you can sign up to be a volunteer. Um, Volunteers are what really drives these local races, and that's because I'll be honest with you. County clerk is not a sexy campaign. Okay. It's not like running for state senate or for governor. A lot of people kind of their eyes glaze over. And so it is harder to fundraise for these local offices. And so, no, we're not going to have a whole lot of paid canvassers. So we're looking for those volunteers to come out and devote 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of their day or of their time over the weekend or during the week to be able to knock on doors and to be able to talk to voters and say, hey, like this is Erin, this is who she is. This is what she's wanting to do. This she's really wanting to make sure that county government works for you, particularly, and asking those questions about what they want to see in county government. But I every time I speak in front of any group, club, organization, and I make that fundraising ask, it's always I really, really wish that campaigns ran on hugs and high fives and fist bumps because, my campaign would be rocking and rolling unbelievably. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It takes that cold, hard cash. And I am fully aware of what is happening, not only in our county and in our state, within our nation, but worldwide. Um, and I know that budgets are tight. And so while it is really awesome to get those $2,000, $5,000 donations, it is those grassroots donations of $5 every month or $25 every month that those type of donations, those reoccurring small dollar donations, is what really drives these local campaigns and really shows that we are sustainable and viable. And so I just encourage anybody who is wanting to set up a donation but thinks that maybe they can't. Even I have so many just $10 reoccurring monthly donations, and I get so excited when I go in and I look. I'm like, oh, so and so made a donation. I'm so excited to see that this month, and then to see that it's a reoccurring. And then I So far up until this point, I have handwritten thank you notes to every single person who has made a donation to my campaign because I know what it means in this economy to be able to give some of your hard earned money to a candidate. Um, I cannot say thank you enough to those individuals who have supported the campaign monetarily or with their volunteer time or their hours, whether it be helping me call voters or knock on doors, or whether it is let me help you design a flyer, whatever it may be. It is a truly heartfelt thank you that you get from me.
Absolutely. Erin, thank you so much for being transparent. We didn't just talk about it, but you're also answering these questions in a transparent way that breaks it down for people to understand why this election matters and why it's important to get voices like yours, even on like a local level, on a county level. This it's
Absolutely.
deeply important to be able to do that.
It
And
absolutely is, Zachary, for sure.
the last thing I want to point out, and it's not necessarily a question, but it's more of like a like in a good way.
Okay.
But I was looking at the results from the primary, which happened
Mm.
on March 3rd. You got
It
54,000 votes.
I did. And Zachary, I'll be honest, I cried.
Yeah.
Um, it it really there were 54,000, just over 54,000 people who could have skipped county clerk and not bubbled in my name. They could have absolutely done that, but they didn't. They made the conscious decision and choice to choose me. Um, and it it means that I have the burden to be able to continue to earn their trust from now until the time I am no longer an elected official. And that is an everyday um, reminder and task. I did get just over 13,000 more votes than my Republican opponent. And to me, that makes me feel that the residents in Williamson County are ready for a change. They are ready to see someone who has the proven experience and who is not just in it for the political gain and notoriety, but that there is someone who is out there who is willing to listen, to actually hear what they have to say and take those concerns back into county government and to make a change for them so that it benefits everyone in the county fairly and equitably.
Absolutely. Again, Erin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I wish you the absolute best. I'm excited. I made a note to continue watching and, following you on social media and just uplifting what you are doing. Again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to come on and talk to you.
Absolutely. Take it easy, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.